Hello, everyone, and welcome to this April edition of Clinical Research Connections. Give everybody just a moment to get settled. As I can see, some people are still joining. So, while people join and get settled, I am going to go ahead and launch a poll. This one is a little bit different than our usual poll. So I'm going to ask you a couple of questions related to the topic today, onboarding. So first, are you involved in the onboarding of research service professionals in your department? And then second, would you be interested in attending a demo session for the newly developed clinical research onboarding in Canvas? I'll give everybody just a moment to answer that. Today, we are only going to be hearing from workforce development. So they're going to show us an onboarding demo, and we'll hear from Tricia Gesualdo and Haley Steinert. And it looks like we've got most of our answers in. Seems like we're about at 64% involved in onboarding, and 86% would be interested in a demo session. Thank you very much. All right, without further ado, I will go ahead and hand it over to Haley and Tricia. Take it away.
Thank you, Erin. All right. So my name is Tricia Gesualdo. I'm one of the co-strategists with Haley Steinert and the Workforce Development Program that is part of CROSS with the OVCR. And so today I'm going to be co-presenting actually with Jamie Burke. She's a regulatory manager in the Department of Surgery and part of our onboarding work group since inception back in last fall. And so what we're going to be talking about today is a clinical research onboarding curriculum that we've developed. And so in alignment with the mission of the Office of the Vice Chancellor for Research, and this is really about providing expertise and support and guidance for the advancement of science. We aim to provide a consistent and centralized research onboarding support with the goal of adequately preparing research service professionals or RSPs for their role. And so we hope the implementation of an onboarding curriculum can expand, can really help to expedite and the proficiency and the competency of the RSP in their new role. And so thereby enhancing our ability to support rigorous research, increase job satisfaction, and may ultimately improve staff retention. And so we hope to integrate the RSPs into our CU clinical research culture so that together we can make research, tomorrow's research happen. So here's an outline of what we want to be able to cover with you all today. I'm going to provide a background and history on how we've defined the need for a standard onboarding curriculum. And then Jamie's going to present the case for onboarding and our choice in using Canvas as a learning management system. And then she's going to show a preview of what has been built so far. Talk a little bit about kind of our the development of our onboarding work group history, as well as next steps. I'm sure many of you have actually are familiar, but just in case some of you aren't, we, as part of the workforce development program, when it first started back in 2022, one of the first things that Haley and I did was work with the evaluation committee or evaluation center to develop a survey that we conducted between December of 2022 and January of 23. This was a survey that was really important in helping us to assess job satisfaction, career trajectory, and then professional development. And so we had just over 800 respondents of this survey, of which about 86% were in the School of Medicine, and almost 60% had been at the university for less than 5 years. And so one of the main questions was really wanting to learn more about satisfaction with job duties, support, as well as the onboarding experience. And so we had this set of questions, or these statements, and then a scale from 1 to 5 to be able to assess the respondents' satisfaction. And so these responses here over on the left, we kind of consider those to be a little less satisfied. And then these responses on the right are more satisfied. And so when we assess the satisfaction with up here at the top of job duties, support from supervisors or the department, as well as central research support, you're seeing overall, we've got the respondents seem pretty satisfied. However, these 3 bottom statements, my promotion career path opportunities at CU, the onboarding experience, and then compensation had less satisfaction. And so when we look specifically at the onboarding experience, we found that roughly 40% of research service professionals were satisfied with this experience. Research service professionals reported a sense of isolation, need for mentoring and support, and then concerns of incompetence in their role. And so in the survey, the respondents could provide suggestions on how to improve their job satisfaction. And so we've taken some of these direct quotes and pretty common themes that came from these suggestions that were kind of concerning, but pretty generally speaking, people were concerned about making mistakes, having to learn from their mess ups, and really not feeling competent in some of the responsibilities that they were given. Opinions that we later captured from research managers were that while they felt that onboarding was critical to success, it's certainly something that's challenging and time consuming. So Jamie, I'll just continue to click through the slides.
That's perfect.
Okay.
Thank you so much. So yeah, just as a quick introduction to myself, as Tricia mentioned, I am the regulatory manager for the clinical research office over in the Department of Surgery. I've been with the institution, it'll be 5 years come August, and I had a very personal interest in the research onboarding and the development, because even when I started, we have such a plethora of resources, but there hasn't really been a central landing place to really determine whether on your own or sometimes even with your supervisor, where you need to go, what you need to sign up for. And so what I've developed for our team in the department has been a natural entry into the work I've done with Tricia and Haley and the rest of our group. And so as Tricia demonstrated, I think there's a very clear case for clinical research onboarding, not just from the survey alone, but here we have a quote from a paper titled "Dealing with Onboarding Training Issues," Onboarding is the process in which new hires are integrated into the organization. An onboarding program includes orientation, learning about the mission, vision and values, job expectations, definitions of success, and interpersonal connections. And following that is a quote from the Workforce Development Survey of an individual who initially felt alone and isolated trying to do research on my own to learn, which are sentiments I can even echo from my journey in these last almost 5 years. And we have departments new to clinical research or are in need of resources and community. Even though we have a very long-standing institution with a great history, there are still departments that, as everyone knows, go through massive turnover, new management, structural changes, and sometimes, as is quoted, there are individuals that have no one directly above them that they can go to for help, mentorship, guidance, or support. And so this mission of the Workforce Development Group and creating this central onboarding experience is to not only help the departments that already have something, but to certainly be a guiding hand to those who otherwise feel lost. We want to make sure that they have all the tools they need and that they feel connected to other researchers and the greater mission of the institution. Next slide, Tricia. And so our goal specifically in this onboarding has been to create a foundational standard for required clinical research trainings while still allowing direct supervisors to participate in the trainings that are needed for new employees. We don't want the departments who have onboarding, but we want to be a partner with them, as well as help those who are very much in need of this central resource. And that is really the big key, is just that this is central, it is available to everyone, and that we are putting people on the right path. And so here is a little screenshot of the RSP training plan that we've been developing. As you can see up at the top, HR required trainings. These are things that are required of all employees. We do have target timeframes, and obviously there are a couple examples where there are very firm deadlines, but otherwise this is the part where we encourage those to work directly with their supervisors. Next slide, Tricia. And this is another screenshot as we continue along. So this will follow the flow of the Canvas, which we'll get to in a second, follows the way that we've organized the different sections. But as you can see, we have three columns here that are important, which is this required and or relevant? While I think a lot of people see research services professionals and they think of those who are doing clinical research or even research, but the RSP family is actually very broad. And so we have been very focused on making sure that we are inclusive of everyone. And because this has to be rather broad, we want to make sure that everybody is given all of the different courses that are available. But again, this is where that part of working with your manager or supervisor is crucial, and that they should be the ultimate guiding force of whether something is optional or relevant to you. And so we give people the option to say yes or no. And at the end, you can put NA if it's not relevant, but that way this is still a great tracking resource and also can be a tool in the future if someone's job role will be expanding or they just want to pursue additional education themselves. But this will be available as a Word document to those who go through the onboarding so that they are able to take it, print it, or even keep it digital, but be able to edit it and just record the dates so that their supervisor can see that they're staying on track. Next slide. So why did we choose Canvas? Canvas was a very obvious choice at the end of the day. Employee orientation has moved to, and it's also very familiar to those who have experience with online learning management systems. Like, we get a lot of individuals who are new grads who have likely worked in Canvas, whether their institution was already set up or moved to that due to the pandemic. And best of all, it's free to us. We have the access, we're able to use it. We don't have to purchase any other special licenses. And so it became a really obvious choice for where we could build this. Next slide. So this will be the landing page that those who come into the onboarding canvas will first see. It's a welcome message that is to set the understanding and importance of just the campus and also the value of research services professionals to the campus. One of our biggest goals is that we wanted to ensure that RSPs understand that they are just as integral to this campus as any other physician or otherwise, because a lot of the work being done here can't run without them. And not this, but we also have one of the welcome messages just talking about the research and everything here. But this is just our welcome page to get everyone started. Next slide. And here you can see just a snapshot of some of the modules that we have. As I mentioned, the training plan will follow the various organization we have here. With getting started, we have another introduction to the Office of the Vice Chancellor for Research, as well as a page dedicated to our affiliates and partners, because sometimes it can be very confusing where University of Colorado Hospital, Children's Hospital, the various institutions and other organizations fit into this. And so we have that. And then we also wanted to have a goal of setting within your first 1 to 2 weeks or your first 1 to 4 weeks, just kind of what your outlook should be and what the kind of expectation should be. Now, again, we want this to be interactive with individual supervisors and managers, but with our discussion, we agreed that within the first month, these courses should be really great goals for individuals to work. Take some time, and so we just kind of need to fill that time. And we've got a lot of great options as far as training courses through Skillsoft, City, our various CTSA courses. So we've got a lot of options. And as you can see in that smaller screenshot, we are putting in regulatory responsibilities, budget and finance to again cover those other individuals who end up under the research services professionals family, but are not the ones who are going to be in a lab or in the hospital interacting with patients, but are just as integral to the success of research on campus. Next slide. And here's a preview of one of the modules. This one in particular is City. And we kind of have the same format pretty much across all of our modules, which is what is the system, give that little introduction, how to get yourself set up. And then many of them also have resources at the bottom for further follow-up. So if you need to get in touch with the City program or for REDCap, who you can contact the Encore team for Encore, etc. But we want to make sure we give an introduction to individuals. So this is pretty much the format across most of these. We also have at the very end a general resource page with a lot of these links and also broader links so that there's a nice landing page if you're just looking for resources. Next slide. So the use of Canvas and just also a general onboarding track has already seen success in the Cancer Center. I want to give a shout out to Katie Hogan and her team that she's brought in. They have really been such a guiding light to a lot of the work we've done with developing this onboarding. We really couldn't have done a lot of this without them, and also to help us troubleshoot Canvas so that we didn't have to figure out everything on our own. And so in the Cancer Center, their results have been, since they launched in July of 2023, they have seen completion times decrease on average by 22.9% since the implementation of their Canvas. And while that may not seem maybe like a lot to some people, any decrease on onboarding transfers into getting individuals more clinics and elsewhere sooner, just being able to really get into the meat of their job if they don't have to spend as much time with having to track down resources and then completing all of their necessary items. And additionally, staff in the Cancer Center have expressed the ease at which they can follow the training requirements, which is also great and will alleviate a lot of that burden that goes onto managers and supervisors, whether they are tenured or not, of having to spend their time also tracking down things, and that the expectation is very clear and set for them. Next slide, Trisha. So what is the history of our onboarding development group? So as you can see on the left, we have a great sized group who has been working steadily from about September of 2023 and has developed from various departments across campus. Our two primary focuses in this group boil down to developing Canvas and just the curriculum overall, focusing on that onboarding and placing it centrally, combining all of the various courses across campus, of resources across campus. And the other primary, which will accompany this and be helpful in developing those cross-campus relationships, and also just helping individuals rely on somebody that isn't necessarily in their department and learn and have another resource, because as we know, managers and supervisors are just very, very busy. And if you don't have more senior leadership in your team, it's great to have one of these peer mentors. Next slide. So what are our next steps? We have 3 phases that we've charted out, one of which we've already completed, which is identifying the required courses for an RSP that they need to complete and creating that standard foundational onboarding in Canvas. The next phase is going to be piloting said onboarding with interested departments. We do obviously have a few departments represented in our work group, but we need more buy-in. We want more opinions. And so that's why we want to move into this next pilot of onboarding. And from that, we want to evaluate training, so our CTSA courses. One of the things that we've talked extensively about is, while we do have such a plethora of resources here, we want to make sure that it really is all encompassing and also leads to that career development piece along the way. So if there are gaps, we want to get that feedback to be able to identify those. And the best way to do that will be doing this pilot. And from there, phase 3 is incorporate evaluation feedback and build that additional curriculum as needed. Next slide. And so with that, we have this QR code here. What we would like to do is we would like to do a town hall Canvas demonstration on May 3rd at 9 a.m. And this QR code will link to the registration for that. And also we'll have a question related to that onboarding pilot for summer 2024. There is a question regarding if you would like to be recontacted in order to be able to distribute this pilot program to new individuals that you're onboarding, or if you would like to go through it yourself and be more hands-on. And from that onboarding pilot in the summer, there's also a survey for new employees and supervisors so that we can start getting that feedback and be able to implement it. Also, for summer 2024, we'd like to pilot the peer mentor program, and we'll have more information on that as we develop that pilot further. And so with that, any questions, comments, or feedback? Let me know if I need to go over anything. I did get a couple moments where it said my internet connection was unstable. So if I need to repeat anything, just let me know.
Thank you so much for that presentation. I think that that's going to be really helpful, and I really appreciate you coming to talk about it. Could you tell us a little bit more about the plans for the town hall?
Yeah, Trisha or Haley, do you want to take that one?
Sure. So our plan for the town hall is that it will be on Zoom, and we'll actually go through step by step in the Canvas so you can see it as if you're the learner. So we just did some screenshots today just to give a brief overview, but it'll be a deeper dive, and then we can take comments, feedback. We're also looking to develop just a little quick survey questionnaire from that as well, if you have comments or suggestions that you want to provide. But we really are trying to get and hear from as many people as possible. So would love to have you join us. We may also have other sessions too. If that time doesn't work for you, just let us know, because we do want to get it out to as many people as possible.
Excellent. Thank you. Any questions from anybody else, or any comments from anybody else potentially involved in the onboarding process? All right. And if anybody wants to follow up with you regarding just additional questions related to the onboarding program or the town hall, what is the best way to reach you?
You're welcome to fill out this survey. It has a place that you can put your email address, and you should be able to leave comments for us in there. You're also welcome to email us. We can put our emails in the chat, and feel free to reach out to us on Teams, email, however you want to get a hold of us.
All right. Thank you very much. Well, I think that brings us to the end of our presentations. If anybody has any questions, again, just feel free to jump in. I will go ahead and ask the group for announcements before we wrap up for today. So if any of you are involved in announcements, or if there's any announcements from the OVCR, please feel free to go ahead and share them.
Hi, Erin. This is Kylie. I have a quick announcement.
Sure. Thank you, Kylie.
So I just, the Clinical Research Recruitment Program, about a couple months ago now, started helping with social media campaigns for recruitment purposes for research teams. So I just wanted to let everybody know that word has gotten out, and we have gotten a flurry of requests. And so if you are interested in a social media campaign, we are still taking requests, but it's about 4 to 6 weeks turnaround time. So just be aware of that. We're getting inundated with requests, which is great, but still submit. Just submit early if possible, as soon as possible, and we'll follow up and get you on our list of individuals that are interested in doing a social media campaign. So just wanted to let everybody know.
Perfect. Thank you so much. And you said 4 to 6 weeks about the timeline right now?
Yes.
Excellent. Well, I'm glad to hear that it's been such a success. Any other announcements from any other groups? Anybody want to share anything else? All right. Well, then we will go ahead and wrap up. The link to the demo form is in the meeting chat if you are interested in that. Thank you again to our speakers, Jamie Lynn and Trisha. Really appreciate you coming and showing us this demo today. And we will give you all a little bit of time back before your next meetings or next tasks. So thank you everybody for joining today, and we will see you next time. Our next Clinical Research Connections meeting will be on May 21st from 12 to 1 p.m.